And we went from, 500 monthly listeners to up to 680,000 monthly listeners, and reached my first million views, million streams, whatever you call it. That was exciting. And I got stuck in this concept of they're not people, they're just numbers, have to reach a million, need 2 million.
Right.
And through this marketing process, I've gone from that to almost 160, 70 million, somewhere around that range. I've developed really, really intense, deep level relationships with my fans. And what Claire has talked about here is that it's not about the fact that I reached 150 million listens. Like, that's incredible. But what it is about, it's about those few hundred, few thousand people that show up continuously, and the people that I've changed their life, and they've changed mine. But I'm creating genuine relationships with people 24 hours a day.
Today, we are talking about the state of the music industry with experts in the fields that we're going to be discussing today. So we have our experts here are also Ari's Take Academy instructors. And so we have our three guests today. Are Vo Williams. He is our instructor for Ars Take Academy's advanced sync strategies for film, TV, and video games. We have Claire Means. She's our instructor for live streaming for musicians. And we have Lucidius. He is our instructor for streaming and Instagram growth. And we're going to basically start off by just kind of hearing from each of them individually, and just where they think the state of the industry is from their vantage point, from their perspective, their area of expertise. And then we'll talk about what they've been seeing with the students in the course the last few months or so. And then we'll take questions. We have plenty of time for questions here. So let's kick into it, because I want to make sure we get to everyone's questions who want to ask questions. All right. And for those of you who are new, I'm assuming you know, but I'm Ari Herstand. I am the founder of Ari's Take Academy. I'm the author of How to Make It in the New Music Business, the host of the New Music Business podcast. I'm a singer-songwriter. I just came out with an album called Like Home. Go listen to it. And yeah, that's who I am. All right. So let's start it off. I want to start with Vo Williams. Vo is, he is an incredible hip hop artist. He's the architect and pioneer of the emerging genre dubbed epic hip hop. It's a sound widely used in film. He's had over 1,000 sync placements of just his own music. He's been synced repeatedly by brands such as PlayStation, Mercedes-Benz, NBA, UFC. His music is in Lethal Weapon and Empire, Ballers, Atlanta. He's in video games like Dogs 2, The Crew 2. I believe I just saw a billboard of Vo driving down, I want to say it was maybe Melrose in Los Angeles. He's got billboards up around LA. And I think I just saw that the Milwaukee Bucks are using your song as like their like pump up music or something. Like I think it might have been on your Instagram, but that's my home state. I was born in Milwaukee, and so it warms my heart to see the Bucks are using your music blasting in the stadium. So that's pretty cool.
Very cool. Nice.
What's going on, Vo? How you doing?
Man, I'm doing well. You know, just being creative, setting up goals and knocking them down, man.
That's great.
You know me.
Yeah, totally. I love it. So tell us what you're seeing in the sync space. I mean, I guess first, before you get into the sync space, just for people who don't know, give us a little background on who you are, and kind of your history as an artist, and then kind of how you arrived here, where you're at, and then you can kind of discuss what you're seeing in the sync realm.
Cool. So I started writing music when I was young, and you know, just growing up and developing myself as an artist, and just kind of chasing the dream of becoming a world famous artist, and you know, kind of heading down that traditional trajectory of making music that was more commercially viable, getting on the radio and having you know, a top 10 hit, right? That was my goal. And then you know, over the years, I had moved from Florida to LA, where I was introduced to a buddy of mine who is, you know, still one of my oldest friends in this space. and he was working in sync primarily. He had been working in sync for something like 15, 20 years before he met me, and was looking to, collaborate with an authentic hip hop artist for sync. And at the time I had no idea what it was. I didn't know what sync music was or how it could be used. I just was essentially just saying yes to creating and collaborating and being open to meeting people and sharing the vibes. And going in the studio and having fun and doing what I love changed my life. I made that song, and then maybe 6 months later, I heard myself coming out of the TV, but totally by surprise. And when that happened, when I saw myself in this movie trailer for Samuel L. Jackson's Big Game, I was just so impacted by the picture and how it was synced to my vocals and my music, which is, I'm an audiovisual artist, so that's everything for me. And it just was like, at that moment, I was like, yeah, this is what I'm supposed to do. Like, this is it. Like, that's exactly what, know.
That's so cool. I was just
Yeah.
rewatching one of my first big syncs on One Tree Hill, the TV show that was pretty hot back in like the mid 2010s or so. This was like I think 2011, and I just like rewatched the whole series. It was like 4 scenes where my song was playing. I'm just like, man, I still get those goosebumps. You still get the feeling. It's pretty crazy.
Yeah, it feels amazing. So at that moment, I knew that this is what I want to do, and I've been attacking it ever since. It was 10 years ago that happened.
So yeah, and I for those of you, we don't want to get too deep into Vo's story because it's a pretty incredible story. We had Vo on the New Music Business podcast, so you can go listen to our full episode there and hear his full backstory. But let's fast forward. Now you've had over 1,000 placements all over film, TV, video games, commercials of your own music. You're the foremost expert in the space, not only as an artist, but now as someone who runs a sync agency where you sign artists yourself, you get them placed into these things. You're their agent. And as an Ari's Take Academy instructor with all these students that are learning directly from you, and you're getting kind of that real-time feedback. What have you seen the last couple months in the sync space? Have you seen different like trends that are happening? What are people looking for in terms of music, genres that are sticking out? Kind of areas that are placing music or placing less music, or using more scored or needle drop, or what are you seeing these days?
What I speculated coming out of the last quarter was that we're going to see a major uptick as more things were opening up and people were kind of coming back into production. And it's been spot on. I have trucks outside of my place right now. I live in LA, and I have like a line of production trucks outside of my place right now. So filming is up, and it's back. And even still during the pandemic, when things were a little bit more restricted and locked down, companies were still being creative and figuring out ways to create content. And I would argue that even during the pandemic, there was more content being created just to kind of service all of the eyeballs that were at home and watching so much more content. It was so much more focused and concentrated. And they took really good advantage of that and kept us entertained throughout the pandemic. So, with more content, even if it's, shows being rebooted, they're going to need promos for that. They're going to need trailers talking about The Office is coming to Netflix, right? So it's not necessarily a new show, but it's new content, and new content needs music always. More products are launching content, and it was a major uptick for us, all things considered, during the pandemic. So we had a really great year financially, obviously, without being insensitive to the devastation of COVID-19 and how it's impacting people and their families. We've had a record year. because of that. So it's super bittersweet. But and then things kind of leveled out a little bit. They didn't slow down, but they leveled out a little bit. I got a little less hot. I think people were starting to see that things were changing in the world, and production was going to open up again. This is all my speculation, because of what I've been seeing happen. And slowly but surely things have been kicking off again, and even more requests for music are coming in.
Nice.
So yeah, it's been incredible.
And tell us what you're hearing from the students. I know you're in the private Facebook group almost every day, answering questions, hearing feedback from them. I've been glancing in and out and seeing people who have been signing to sync agencies, getting syncs themselves, getting their music into libraries if that's their focus. But what have you been noticing?
I mean, just success.
Yeah.
Delivering people to success, and that to me was the goal. Coming into this, I think you and I spend a lot of time talking about my concerns and my ego, which is like, look, man, I've established myself in this space. Like, if we're gonna do this, we gotta help people win.
Yeah.
And I've been really happy with that. A lot of students are signing to sync agencies, which for a lot of people is going to be a great platform, a launch pad for them to start their careers. Some of these sync agencies are amazing, and they're going to give them a great shot. And then, some other students are getting syncs just through directly pitching. A lot of people are learning, asking questions, communicating with each other. Our membership group is basically its own community. Where people are sharing, trading information. They're even going off of the course into other resources, and like, hey, did you see this video where this guy was talking about this on mixing and mastering for sync? Or like, did you see this video about disco? Or and people are kind of like meeting in Clubhouse, and it's incredible, collaborating on music. We have a lot of students in there making new tracks together based on what they're learning in the course. And applying some of that sensibility to sync. And it's been incredible, man. I'm really happy for what's happened, and I know that this year is going to be even more exciting as well.
Totally. And I just have to say, I mean, I speak for all the students there and myself, and we just like so appreciate how much you show up for the students. I mean, it's just like, it's so cool to see you in there every day with your crazy schedule and active schedule of everything you do to continue to show up for the students and answer everyone's questions and keep giving them support. So that's so appreciated.
I mean, look, if you're going to invest in you and you're going to trust me and my experience, I'm going to show up. I think I'm just meeting students halfway is a no-brainer for me, and I'm inspired to do that because if you're in the course and you're serious, and I'm serious about you if you're serious about you. So it's been an honor and a pleasure for me. Yeah,
cool. Let's bring in Claire Means. Claire is our instructor for the live streaming for musicians course. She her latest album, Sidewalk Astronomy, debuted at #1 on the iTunes singer-songwriter charts. She's been featured in Billboard, No Depression, Pitchfork, American Songwriter, among many others. She got her start, and I'll let her tell her story a little bit more, street performing on the Santa Monica Pier and Promenade here in LA. I believe that's where I saw her for the first time many years ago. And then about 6 years ago, she started live streaming on Periscope when Periscope first came out, and she became one of the most watched musicians on Periscope. Periscope is now defunct. She is switched over to Twitch, Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Instagram Live, where she's become one of the foremost experts on live streaming for musicians on these platforms. What's going on, Claire Means? How are you?
I'm good, Ari. How are you doing?
I'm great, and I'm loving your background right now. This is fantastic. It is so vibrant. It wakes me up. I had a late start this morning, so I'm seeing this. I'm like, yes, Claire.
I just moved here actually, so my set has completely changed.
Yeah.
And I moved into this place, and the walls are white, and the floor is white. It's just like a super bright room, and I got a bunch of artwork, some from my sister, some weird stuff I painted myself. And, it just adds thing, like people can come in and be like, oh, I like that, artwork, or, I don't know.
Yeah.
It helps entice people to come into the
Totally. I
live
have
stream.
1,000 questions right now about every piece of art in there, but we're not going to get into that. So I'm assuming people on Twitch have similar questions, and it's probably a conversation starter there as well in the chat box. Give me a little, just your brief background. I'm for everybody here to kind of know how you got your start live streaming, but just also just as a musician in general.
Yeah. So I started live streaming. Well, I started making my living as a street performer, about 10 or so years ago. And I really loved that, like, contact with the audience. You meet people from all around the world through street performing, and they make these split decisions to buy our stuff or to like you on Facebook, follow you on Instagram, whatever. And it's just really satisfying, and you're connecting with people, and lots of people, especially like because you're so approachable on the street performing, people can like come up and just talk to you right away. Which has its positives and negatives. And so
Sure.
I was street performing 6 years ago about, and someone told me that they were really enjoying the performance on Periscope. And so I asked them, well, what is Periscope? I had kind of heard of it, but I didn't really know exactly how it worked. And they showed me it's like an app you can download. So that night I downloaded the app, and I just thought, you know what? I'm already out here street performing to these people, and you can do this from your phone. So I might as well go live on Periscope at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So I just started doing that as I was street performing, and then, started doing it from home as well. And so Periscope was really great for me. And for many musicians, I mean, in terms of just, it's a lot like that kind of street performing experience, in that you're meeting people from all around the world, except, you can do it from the comfort and safety of your own home if you want, and at any hour, and it's really freeing, knowing that you can kind of reach an audience and connect with people.
When did you transition to the others like Twitch and
well,
Facebook?
in the beginning of quarantine, basically, I mean, I was already using Facebook Live and Facebook Live a fair amount, especially when I did my Kickstarter for my last album. On a big benefit using Facebook Live too, because you'll have fans that you might meet at gigs and stuff like that, and they won't be on Periscope, or they won't necessarily be on Twitch, but they're on the more mainstream ones, kind of, Facebook, Instagram, whatever, YouTube. So I mean, I started using them, especially during that crowdfunding, Facebook a lot, and then I just kind of continued doing it sporadically. But then I really got more regular with doing Twitch, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. When quarantine hit, kind of like April, May 2020.
Okay, cool. Yeah, and again, I've had everyone on the podcast. So if you want to hear more of Claire's story in depth, we talk for an hour on the New Music Business podcast, and she's got a great story. But I do want to get your take on where you think the state of live streaming is for musicians right now. Specifically on Twitch but the others as well. Just, I guess, the whole landscape of what you're seeing for live streaming, since you're doing it so frequently and so regularly every day.
I mean, I think, it's kind of an interesting place we're at now, because, now restrictions are being lifted and people are getting vaccinated and stuff like that. And, gigs might be coming back, to in-person gigs, but now we've gotten, viewers have gotten used to, and musicians have gotten used to the live streaming thing. So I think it's going to continue. And, once things get back to normal, we can also, go back to like live streaming gigs and kind of, doing collaborations and, being even more creative with it. So I think that, like, once, people are introduced to these, like, once these technologies become mainstream, like Zoom meetings and live streaming, now that they're more mainstream, people are going to continue, to use them for sure. And we can even be, I'd say, like, more creative with them now.
I mean, for my album release, just a few weeks back, I did a live performance from the Hotel Cafe here in LA with a band on the stage. I mean, it felt so incredible to play with the band again, in a venue, hearing myself through the system. I mean, it was just like I was levitating the whole performance. But there were no attendees in the house. They live streamed it, and they have a really incredible setup. Now, this was a ticketed live stream on their own platform that they have. but it was cool. They had like 4 cameras set up. And I think that a lot of venues that have already outfitted themselves to do that, I know I was talking to them, they're going to start charging live stream tickets so you can watch from wherever you are in the world, no matter who's showing up. And then also, you know, in-person tickets when people show back up, because they already have the infrastructure set up there now, and they've worked it out where, I mean, this live stream was incredible. I mean, it looked like I was on national television. I mean, it looked like SNL. I mean, they had 4 HD cameras, and it was, you know, professionally mixed and live edited and all that stuff. It was great. So definitely, specifically on Twitch, I'm wondering, because I had the head of music at Twitch on the podcast a couple months ago, and he was talking about, and this is what blew my mind. He was saying that the musicians who are making over $50,000 on Twitch are doing so from just 183 people. And this is what was crazy to me, is that like, it doesn't take a ton of people to actually make a living live streaming. Can you speak to that? I don't quite understand, when we're in this era of, you know, you need like millions of streams on Spotify to just make thousands of dollars. It like flips it on its head, the complete opposite. What are you seeing in terms of just like the revenue generated from a smaller amount of people, and how that even works? How does that happen?
Yeah, I would definitely say, I mean, you know, on Periscope, you know, I had a you know, fair amount of followers, but when you think about like the core of my income and my supporters, you know, it's probably from, yeah, you know, like the majority is probably of 100, you know, 100 different, you know, which is not many people, you know what I mean? Like I'd say if I don't know exact numbers, but
Sure.
you know, a lot of the people that are the biggest supporters, they support on a regular basis and they're generous, you know, and then you'll get the viewers who can't afford to, you know, pay anything, but they tune in on a regular basis, which of course is supportive as well, just to show up, you know, but yeah, in terms of income, like a lot of it is those super fans, you know, and you don't need necessarily that many. Like I see some people on Twitch, you know, that have, you know, don't have very big community, but they get those super fans, and they, you know, plop, you know, money in there very on a frequent basis, you know.
Yeah.
And yeah, but you know, but also, you know, you could have tons of followers, but maybe they're not as supportive, you know. So I mean, it's really about, like, I think that's a live stream is a lot about connecting with the audience, and sometimes even more so than just musically, but also they want to know your personality. They want to know that you see their comments, they see your questions, and it's a human like connection that a lot of people are craving, and that's why a lot of people go to live streaming too. And that's also what makes people want, you know, to be generous and be part of your success, part of your career, part of, you know, your life, you know, kind of.
Totally. And that makes a lot of sense. And it's a refreshing thing to remember, because you know, we as an industry have become obsessed with the macro numbers, and it's like there's a lot of judgment thrown around, and when it comes to like what people's definition of success even means. And it's, you know, I fall you know, victim to it as well. And I was pretty revealing to an Ari Steak email blast, which I got a lot of pushback from, when I said I was disappointed in my Spotify numbers opening week. As I think everybody is. Whenever you release a song, of course you expect it to go crazy viral and get millions of streams day one. And of course that doesn't happen for virtually anybody except the superstars. And I'm just like, conceptually, I know it's not about day one, week one, even year one. Like, you know, I just had Ricky Montgomery on the podcast, who he had 2 songs go viral on TikTok last year from his 2016 album. Like, they were just sitting dormant and nothing was really happening. And then they exploded on TikTok in 4 years later. And so, and that stuff is happening all the time, and we're seeing like a slow grow, but like, it's still, it hits us that we're forced to reckon with these very public numbers. And it's really thinking about, all right, what are the ultimate goals? What is your ultimate goal when it comes to your life and your career? Like, what are you doing this for? Are you doing this for more numbers on a screen? Like, you want to see bigger numbers on a Spotify thing or Instagram or whatever it is? Or are you looking to build connections with an audience and a fan base? Are you looking to just make a living doing what you love? And I think it's like really focusing on your ultimate goals and not get bogged down by a lot of these vanity metrics that get thrown our way and really don't mean anything. And so it's really refreshing to hear that people are making really good livings live streaming because of their engaged super fans. And really, when you think about like the super fans who are out there, it's like, okay, let's focus on them. Let's not focus on the entire world. I mean, like, how do I get 1 billion streams? It's like, well, how do I just like make a living doing what I love from people who care about me? That is a much more reasonable approach for me, at least.
Yeah.
So talking about the and I see your questions in the chat, and Joe Flip, I know we're going to get to you, and as Claire was saying, acknowledge the chat box. So I'm acknowledging the chat box here on our thing. I see everyone. We're gonna hear from Lucid, and then we're going to take everyone's questions. So, and yes, I love that, Jennifer, you said it's almost like a digital house concert. Exactly. House concerts are some of my favorite shows that I've ever played. And it is when you're like it's very intimate, and you're not playing to thousands and thousands. You're playing to maybe, tens of people. And some of my best house concerts I've ever played have been less than 30 people there. It's just like, it's so intimate and it's so special. And then everyone there buys a shit ton of merch. And so it's like, I've seen that in the real world happen too. Some of my most profitable shows are house concerts for 30 people. I'll make more money at a house concert with 30 people than I do in a club with 250 people. It's just the nature of kind of how it works. But anyway, talk about the course a little bit, the live streaming for musicians course you're the instructor of. What are you seeing from the community in terms of just like how people are live streaming and what they're how they're doing with it?
Yeah, the course is going really well. A lot of the students are new to Twitch and been diving to that and like, really excelling on Twitch a lot. And
Cool.
and a lot of them are, some of them are focusing more on Facebook, and and YouTube and stuff. But yeah, I think a lot of people too are trying kind of all of them and kind of alternating, like setting up schedules and sticking
Gotcha.
to them, and getting those Facebook people over to their Twitch channel and yeah, doing some collabs and stuff, and also in terms of like the community and the Facebook group, just like giving each other advice on technology and
Yeah.
cameras and all sorts of multi-streaming, all sorts of things.
That's the thing that like I think for a lot of people, and what I really appreciate that you did in the course is like we have this like a whole chapter of lessons on the technology, so everybody can get their tech all set up with OBS and everything like that, and Streamlabs and yada yada yada, because that I think is daunting for a lot of people is like when you're to set the tech up. But then I saw one student was in there and he's just like, hey, I'm now making a living live streaming. A month ago I wasn't, but I'm just using my phone and it's working really well. I'm like, oh, that's cool too.
Yeah. I mean, on Twitch, a lot of people use their computers and high tech stuff, but you can use your phone. And some of our students, like, because one of our students, he doesn't have great internet, where he is, but he's doing it from his phone on Twitch, but just makes the background look really nice and
Cool.
places the phone in a good, and I mean, he's doing awesome on it, so.
Sick. That's awesome. That's great. And yeah, I see Michelle has a question. What's the name of Claire's course? Her course is live stream for musicians. All the courses are found at aristakeacademy.com if you want to check them out. You can read more about them there. So you can just hit that. I think that's right link. Thank you, Claire. Thank you so much. That was awesome. All right. So let's bring in our final guest today, and then we'll take everyone's questions. So Lucidius is our instructor for the Streaming and Instagram Growth course. He is originally from Northern Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C. He's now been living in LA for a few years. And so when we were talking about the macro numbers, here's a guy with macro numbers. He's got over 100 million streams. And I believe that was just actually on Spotify streams at this point. He's got around 500,000 monthly listeners on just Spotify. His songs are streamed around 4 to 5 million times each month from listeners all over the world. He runs an indie label, and he is the master of digital marketing, specifically with Facebook and Instagram ads, but is constantly testing all the different digital marketing strategies out there. And has been like really the last couple of years of we've been working so intimately together, like really cracked open the whole digital marketing space, and it's been really inspiring to see. Lucidius, what's going on? How are you?
I'm good. I'm just watching Claire and Vo. There's just so many beasts on this call. It's like,
Yeah.
these guys are all amazing.
I love it. I know. Yeah.
Jeez.
So absolutely. So Lucid, give us a little background, because you have an interesting story too. In just kind of like how you got your start, and then how you found digital marketing, and then how you got to where you're at now, because you're not on any official, I didn't mention that, you're not on any official Spotify editorial playlists.
You don't have to remind me, Ari.
I'm sorry. Neither am I.
I'm kidding.
So, I know that's like the bane of all of our existence right now. Is it's like, please, Spotify playlist editors, put us on a like playlist. But anyway, yeah, give us a background.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's a testament to your fan base as well. Is that's like that's a really big point that I think a lot of people don't acknowledge enough. Is that like, and I was just looking this up. I sent an email yesterday to the RSA community about you, but also about looking at the difference between people's monthly listeners on Spotify when you're included in really active, hot Spotify playlists versus their followers, which oftentimes, if you're just included in a bunch of really hot Spotify playlists, you might have 2 million monthly listeners. But then I was looking, it's like, wow, they only have 15,000 followers. Like, that's a huge difference, because they like really don't really have any fans.
Yeah.
They just have people who like the playlist they're on. And if the Spotify editor one day is just like, you know what, we're removing you from the playlist, not only do your streams drop back down to maybe 15,000 monthly listeners or whatever, so does your income. So as before you were making, you know, $5, $10, $20,000 a month on streaming, if you get removed from those playlists, boom, you're back down to zero. So that, like, honestly, it's scarier to me to be included on playlists and to depend on those than it is to just build an organic way.
100%. Absolutely. So how did I start? So I would say, well, one, from Northern Virginia, went to George Mason University, ended up participating in a music productions club, which I was not playing any instruments. I was hanging out with rappers. And I wanted to be a rapper most of my life. I grew up on Eminem, and I kind of turned to him for just dealing with personal things in my life, trying to figure out what it's like to express emotions and kind of like journaling and this idea of poetry. But I didn't start until I was in college. So it wouldn't have been cool in high school. So I waited till I was a freshman in college where no one would judge me. I was like, cool. People ended up judging me anyway. But it was a really, really interesting start. I ended up joining a household of musicians. We had 30 or 40 people, like bassists, rappers, drummers, guitarists, and we all just started creating together. And it was one of my favorite times in life. But I did that, basically fondling around with creating with no idea of the legalities and the business and the professional side, probably, I don't know, for at least 4 years of just aimlessly making content with no real idea of how to make a brand, how to register a company, how to get my music in front of other people, just having fun. And that started going well. I made like my first 2 music videos. I was spending a lot of money on them, and nobody was watching them, obviously, because that's just kind of what happens on the internet. Doesn't matter how good the skill is, if you don't have a way to put that content in front of a new person, well, they're most likely not going to find it. So in 2016, around that time, one of my best friends, he's a great marketer, kind of came to me and he was like, hey, I see you've been working on this for many years now. What are you doing? I was like, what do you mean? He's like, your numbers aren't moving. You're spending a lot of money on this. How are you going to create a career out of this though? Are you planning on signing to a label? Which, as we know, does not always have success and is also very hard. And as of today and for a long time, a lot of these contracts are not exactly fair, or at least in the artist's favor. Mm-hmm. So I was like, no, I don't want to sign. I was like, okay. So he showed me what marketing is, in the sense of, hey, you can literally take this video that you created. You can identify certain people in the world that you think might like it. You can place it in different areas on the internet, and you can set up a tunnel, a funnel for them to be introduced to who you are. And I was like, and within, that's my dog, by the way. Don't worry about him. He likes to sing in the background. Practicing for next week's show. Yes. Um, and within a week or two, I had 10,000 views. It's like, whoa, that's real. And what was interesting about that relationship is he showed me one strategy. He just cracked the door for me, and I became just obsessed. And I would stay up till 3, 4 a.m. studying, what resources were available to me, and learning and testing every angle of Facebook and Instagram marketing from every placement, spending a lot of money on it just to find out what does and does not work. And I did that I'm still doing that. I've been doing that for several years, not just those 2 platforms, many platforms. And we went from 500 monthly listeners to up to 680,000 monthly listeners, and reached my first million views, million streams, whatever you call it. That was exciting. And I got stuck in this concept of they're not people, they're just numbers, have to reach a million, need 2 million.
Right.
And through this marketing process, I've gone from that to almost 160, 70 million, somewhere around that range. I've developed really, really intense, deep level relationships with my fans. And what Claire has talked about here is that it's not about the fact that I reached 150 million listens. Like, that's incredible. But what it is about, it's about those few hundred, few thousand people that show up continuously, and the people that I've changed their life, and they've changed mine. But I'm creating genuine relationships with people 24 hours a day. Like, while I'm sleeping, advertisements are running. I'm constantly exposing myself to someone new. And a track may be old to me, 2 years, 3 years old to me, but someone from Cape Town will reach out to me this morning and say, I found this track from 3 years ago, and it is genuinely saving my life today, or it's genuinely got me up and going to the gym. Like, so grateful I found your music through this advertisement. What else do you have coming? Okay, 3 years later, boom, new fan, new angle. And I think what's really cool about this specific call, this is just one piece of the puzzle. And it's so cool to see that Claire's on here, Bo's on here, Ari do like business across the board. These are all just pieces of a big pie. And all of them are important. Yet we have to slowly implement all of them. But the one really, really cool thing about marketing specifically is that, irrelevant of the playlist, irrelevant of the rep that didn't show up at your show, irrelevant of that rejection letter you got from Interscope, like, it sucks, but we have power. And at the end of the day, it comes down to knowledge. And one thing that we've done here is we've accumulated knowledge. We've figured out streamlined ways to share that knowledge, to apply it in easy steps that's digestible, applicable for everyone. And we can get fans. And you don't have to spend $10,000 on a billboard to get those fans. You can do it from your bedroom, from your computer. There are ways to expose that. And for me, it's just drastically changed my life. I mean, I had 3 or 4 jobs working just to spend money on making a music video and production. And we all have been there. We're all artists. So, for me to finally go full time as an entrepreneur into several companies and as an artist has been a blessing, over the last year or two.
It's so inspiring to hear, and I really appreciate your transparency and candor. And again, we had a really great talk on the New Music Business podcast. So if you want to hear more of Lucidus' story,
it's a deep talk.
You can, we talked for a long time on that one. You can listen to our episode. So break it down a little bit where we're at in the digital marketing space, what you're seeing, because just to get into the weeds a little bit, there's been a pretty massive I guess, shift in the Facebook, Instagram marketing realm the last few months, when Apple came out and they said that they're no longer allowing any ad platforms like Facebook to access the data from their iPhones. So this is the new iOS 14 update, and they're now blocking a lot of that, which, for those of you out there, and here's what I've been grappling with, is like, as a user, And like, just as a person in society, I'm like, this, like, yeah, thank you, Apple, block them away from me. Like, that's scary. Like, I don't want that invasion of my privacy. But then on the flip side, as an advertiser, I'm seeing it's so much more difficult to find people who are going to be interested in my whatever the product is or the music or anything. So it's like, as an advertiser, I'm just like, man, this sucks. Because before, you know, if you're just looking at the numbers, like, I could spend $1 and I know I'd get like $3 back on something I'm advertising, because it's like Facebook got so good at finding who the people are who would be interested in what I'm offering. And I had like, I equated it to like a faucet. I would just like turn this faucet on and just like, it would just start running out, because I turn it on, I start running these ads that I know work, and it just starts returning customers and listeners and all that stuff. But now Apple has put up this wall. So I'm grappling with this from both sides. Like, man, it's so much more difficult. So break it down what you're seeing, because I'm only seeing the macro version. I'm not in the weeds on this. I'm just like hearing about this.
Well, it is a bold statement from Apple. You know, the step that they're taking and have taken is way beyond music. This is obviously a issue across all industries right now. All marketers are struggling with this whole concept that Apple is trying to protect and be the leader for privacy, which, you know, whatever, that's their agenda. Some people want to have the perfect pillowcase marketed to them so they can buy it. Like, it's not everyone's going to opt into that, but probably half people will opt out. And okay, so what has this done for me? One, it has not changed the fact that independent digital marketing is still and will continue to be the most cost efficient and empowering way to create a long-term career without the help of a label, a major publicist, or somebody else that's outside of our control, right? So like, it doesn't change the fact that digital marketing will exist now and will continue to exist. Secondly, the way I look at it is, for the first 2 or 3 years of these marketing campaigns, we had basically a treasure map, and the treasure was just right there. Like, there was no obstacles to get to it. There was no secret key. Now we have to have a few secret keys for that information to get unlocked. So knowledge right now is more key than it's ever been. So the knowledge that's taking place in this course, and one of my partners and I, we developed a company called Artist Hub, and Artist Hub is basically a smart linking music platform for landing pages, pixel integration. It opens that channel for data accumulation to actually be funneled back to Facebook. Whereas before it was kind of nice to have, now it's a requirement. So these things can still be attained, but you have to have the right answer. You have to have the right perfectly implemented strategy in order for these floodgates to even have the option of opening. So the difference for me is not so much of what's possible. It's more so the knowledge accumulated in the course right now, and the development that we're having. We're doing things that ToneDen, Linkfire, Feature FM, and the biggest competitors in the space still have not accomplished. We've done direct comparisons to what an ad looks like in their state of linking and data accumulation and cost and auto optimization versus our development with our team. And it's just completely night and day. So maybe they're just giants and they don't care about this big rollout because they're making millions of dollars. I don't know. But the cool thing is, because we developed Artist Hub, we're in complete control of the speed that we can get through these obstacles. For example, one that we recently added to the course was something as simple as an access token, which is basically just, it's opening that funnel from the landing page and the advertisement and allowing the data to be collected by Artist Hub and then shot back to Facebook so that we can auto optimize and target people in the future and retarget them for shows, for Claire, or for sync placements, right? They're all interconnected. But without that, without the knowledge that's in the course, people are going to be marketing blind. And beforehand, you could boost a post and do pretty well. You could just, Facebook wants $10 to reach 500 people. Sure, could work. Didn't really work too well, but could work. Now it's just not going to work. Like, you really have to set this up in a specific way if you want to see the results that you want to see.
Cool. Yeah, and that's been really inspiring to see as well in the course that you know, students are able to get around this because of what you guys have developed and the lessons that we keep adding. And that's the thing with all the courses. You know, we at Ari's Tech Academy, I want to make sure that all the courses are living, and so we'll constantly update lessons when we feel the need that things shift, or you know, that's why it's so great to see that all you guys are so active in the groups answering questions in real time. So it's kind of like this hybrid between what you would get in a classroom at like a major educational institution, or on the other end of the extreme, like, you know, the masterclass sessions that we see out there, which obviously those instructors, you know, Martin Scorsese is not in the Facebook group answering questions, but it's like we kind of have this hybrid in there. And it's really great. And I think we have the best education offerings in the world. I'm a little biased, but honestly, I don't see any. You know, there's over 300 universities that are teaching my book right now in their music business classrooms, and I've spoken at a lot of them, and I've seen their offerings, and I've like sat in the back of the classrooms, and I'm like disappointed, especially when I hear from the students who graduate $200,000 in debt, and then they come to me, they're like, "Hey, how do I collect my royalties?" I'm like, wait, you just spent $200,000 on an education, and you got a music business major, and you don't know how to collect your royalties? Like, what did they teach you? And like that was what like drove me insane, and the reason I felt the need to launch an offering like this and bring some of the smartest minds in the industry who are killing it right now, doing it right now, and working it. And like, I really appreciate that Lucidius, Vo, Claire, you guys are actively doing it right now. You are running your own careers, doing the thing that you're teaching in real time. You know, we're not bringing professors who taught, you know, we're doing it 20, 30 years ago. So that's the biggest thing. I want to take some questions now. So if you do have questions and you would like to ask them, I can enable your mic. You can raise your hand, and you can ask your question directly. You can pop your question in the Q&A box. Let's see if we have any questions. I know Joe Flip asked a question early, and I'll just ask her right here from Joe. It was to Claire, and he said, Claire, do you find yourself trying to change up your songs during each stream? Or do you have a kind of a similar set list each time for your live streams?
Yeah, I change it up, and it depends on the platform. Like on Twitch, I have a whole song list people can look at that has all my originals, and then also covers I can do, you know, for free. And then also Twitch, and sometimes I mention this in Facebook too. I do like a live learn, where if somebody really wants a song like that's not on my song list, I can learn it on the spot for $20, you know, which they kind of, you know, it's interesting because you might totally flop at it, but they like to see the process of you learning it, you know, and everything. So yeah, I change it up. I also do improv songs. Like, I give them the reward just to spice things up, keep things interesting. Like, if we get to certain financial goals or certain people or likes or whatever, depending on the platform, that will do an improv song with their guys, you know, their suggestions. So yeah, I definitely mix it up. I, you know, for my own sanity too, because I, you know, but also live streaming has really encouraged me to write more and like delve into different genre, you know, kind of play with different tempos and genres to kind of keep the audience, you know, engaged. So
cool.
Yeah. And the live with Twitch, I kind of let them come up with the order of songs and stuff like that. They put in the request, they can bump them up for, you know, money and stuff, you know, so.
That's the big difference with live streaming on these platforms. Like you were talking about earlier, the etiquette is that you respond to the chat box in real time. So these people who might ask you to play a song, you'll acknowledge it right there on the spot, and it might be the next song you play.
Yeah. Some days I'm like, hey, I'm going to play what I want to play today. You know,
Sure.
Song list is off. So, you know, you can make your own rules. Like, you know, that's the great thing. You can kind of do each day different, you know? So some people have, you know, 80s music day or whatever, you know, they have different themes. So it's, yeah.
We have a question from David Tashman. He said, has Claire been able to have all the success she had without the digital marketing, or is she also paying for Facebook and Instagram ads?
Well, a lot of my success came from Periscope, and that wasn't really from any ads or anything like that. That was just kind of from live streaming every single day. And honestly, I need to like delve into that more in terms of Facebook and Instagram ads. I have run them for important posts or like, the Kickstarter or, uh, the new album, you know what I mean? Like I kind of focus like, run ads for very specific things. But most of my success was from Periscope, which wasn't from ads. That was just from like basically showing up every day.
Well, and talk about how you can grow an audience. I think this is the confusing part for a lot of people, is how you can grow an audience on Twitch starting from zero
Yeah.
without running ads or anything like that. How does that happen?
Well, I mean, if you have an audience elsewhere, first of all, Facebook, Instagram, you want to try to get them over to Twitch, like, tell them what it's like and, that they can tune in for hours and, songs and stuff like that. You want to, navigate the music community, introduce yourself, not in an obnoxious way, but, but like, meet other musicians there, and then, there's these things called raids, which are a great way to meet other music communities on Twitch.
We'll talk about raids, because that's a really,
Yeah.
when you first told me about raids, I didn't know anything about those. Well, first explain what raids are.
So raids, on Twitch, basically, it's the normal thing to do, or at the end of your stream, you kind of say, okay, guys, we're going to go on a field trip over to this other stream. And you put in the other stream's username and you press enter or whatever. And it just kind of takes them all over to the other person's stream at the end of your stream. If they want to go, they can hop in. So yeah, and it's really great because it's like a way of sharing out a broadcast, but yeah, you're bringing all your folks over. So I mean, if let's say there's these really, really amazing couple on Twitch called ACS, couple streams. They're called a couple streams. They're a couple that streams together. Anyway, and a couple times they've rated me, and they always have like 1,000 people at a time coming on over,
Wow.
and our music is like, somewhat similar kind of folky vibe, I guess. And, their people are so supportive, they just hear, they follow, give, applause. And, it's just a great way to meet new people, and every raid is going to be different. You could have people, I had a couple of my newer fans on Twitch, like came over from like a DJ set, which is like a totally different kind of music, like pumped up electronic music. But they're like, this is so cool. I don't normally listen to folky music, so you never know. You could get raids from video gamers, I mean, it's really interesting way to meet all sorts of communities. There's so many different communities on Twitch, but also the music community is kind of a cohesive as well. It's got like a lot of the regulars that are regulars in different people's streams and stuff like that. So
yeah, totally. Jennifer Doodle asks, does live streaming work well even for the 30+ age audience?
Oh yeah, there's definitely, I mean, there's definitely a lot of live streamers, I'd say, on Twitch that are 30+. Some of the bigger ones on there are in their 30s, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, I mean, Twitch, of course, has a lot of, like, you will get some people that are like, oh, I'm watching you and I have to wake up early for middle school tomorrow. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but it's definitely a mix, but that's good. It's good to like reach some of the younger folks, the gamers that are there, but also, I mean, yeah, you definitely get in terms of the audience too, the generous folks that I'm assuming are, not teenagers, because they have the money to be generous and stuff like that. And, yeah, it's,
and on the other platform.
The other platforms are different. I mean, Facebook, has an older crowd.
Right.
And that's why it's good to kind of, test them all out, see what is your favorite, you can do, and you can mix it up, and do them and figure it out. You can take your time.
And I've noticed there are a few students in the course who are in their 40s, 50s, even 60s. There might be a couple in their 70s. Honestly, I don't know their ages, but they're finding, and we've actually put a few of their testimonials on the course page, because they've had great success and found that audience. And oftentimes it is on Facebook, because that's where the older audience is. So I appreciate that, you have a whole chapter in the course on how to really engage on all the different platforms too.
Yeah. I say, just trying out all the different platforms, finding out what is your favorite and where is your core audience is great. Yeah.
Cool. So we have a question. Oh, Matthew, I know your hand was raised. Do you want me to Here, you can ask it if you'd like. You lowered your hand, but I want to get to you if you want to ask your question.
And also just to point out, there's a grandma called Tactical Grandma that's making 6 figures playing video games on Twitch. So anything is possible.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
By the way, there's a woman who was on Periscope, and I think she's in her 70s. And you know, she was doing pretty well on Periscope. Okay, I'm totally blanking on her name right. Actually, her name is Algie or something, but now she's on TikTok. And you know, on TikTok, she's got, you know, I think 100 or 200,000 followers on TikTok. And like, it's, you know, I mean, it's super inspiring, you know, like that wasn't, she kind of came back to music later in her life. And yeah, I mean, she's doing awesome on there.
So cool.
Yeah.
So cool. That's great to hear. Matthew McCoy, did you want to ask your question? I just enabled your mic there.
Sure, I'll ask it. So my question is there a way to stream music without engaging spot? I mean, I know that they're great for reaching millions of people, you know, but a part of me feels like we're promoting the sites and not really promoting our music, and people have to get, you know, subscriptions, et cetera, et cetera. So in this, it seems like you have the need to find more people who are interested in what you're doing. And so I'm just wondering if I can stream things from my website, you know, and make it accessible without necessarily having to engage Spotify and Tidal and all of these, all the other larger sites.
Yeah. I can take this, and then if anyone else has any other suggestions, feel free to jump in. But great question. I battle with this all the time because, you know, I'm not getting much love from the Spotify editors. Someone that's like, well, why am I sending everyone over to Spotify for the third of a penny of a stream per stream? Right. So there's a Bandcamp is actually a really excellent community and platform. They're the largest digital, next to iTunes, are like the largest digital music store out there. Definitely the largest independent music platform. They don't allow major label artists on their platform. And so you can basically, what's great about what they do is you can send people to your Bandcamp. You can also embed your Bandcamp songs into your website if you want. And they have a name your price. And so they can download your album or they can stream it. There's a Bandcamp app too. They can stream it a certain number of times before they actually have to pay per song. And I've had somebody pay me $200 for my album, which they could have listened to for free on Spotify. But they just decided to because they wanted to you know, support me. Now, Bandcamp was also the platform that Phoebe Bridgers and Maggie Rogers, they released a cover of a Goo Goo Dolls song, and they were raising money for charity. And so they didn't actually release this song anywhere else. They didn't put it on Spotify or Apple Music or anywhere. They only put it on Bandcamp. They raised $175,000 in a day for this charity. And so we're seeing a lot of indie artists turning to Bandcamp as a way to engage their fans, but also monetize and make some good money there. If you use a website building platform like Bandzoogle, so Bandzoogle, that's who I use for my website hosting. And that's where ariherstand.com is on. And it's a really easy way to build your website. Similarly, they have a digital download store that you right there on the website. So as you're building your website, it's very easy. It's drag and drop, click stuff. You can put up your songs there and you can send people directly to your website if you want, for name your price, to pay what they want for your songs there as well. Cool. All right. So let's take another one. Michael is asking, Vo, what is your opinion of Song Trader? Do music supervisors use it?
Song Trader is one that I'm not familiar with. I don't use it, but I have had some students actually bring it up in the membership group. I'm doing some more research on it, but I haven't heard of anybody who really looks to Song Trader in order to find music for sync. As far as I know.
I can also speak to that. So I'm familiar with Song Trader. Basically, so what Song Trader is, it's kind of it's a hybrid between a sync agent and a music library. So they have a
Yeah.
catalog of songs. It's open to everyone. So, you know, their catalog is probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions of songs at this point. Music supervisors can go there. They can search for a song based on like tempo or vibe or lyrics or something, and then they can do like a library works, a micro sync license. So if it's like for a wedding video or something like that, you know, you can license the song for like $100. But they also have an agency side of it where they do have sync agents that speak to music supervisors every day, and they're pitching kind of the more select artists that are signed to Songtrader, that they're focusing on, I guess. So it's kind of one of those hybrids, and that's the thing. I mean, there's so many of these library companies out there, sync agencies,
Yeah.
hybrids, so many of those. Songtrader's one that they're also, Songtrader also distributes music. So I did a deep dive in them when I was reviewing the digital distributors out there, like DistroKid, TuneCore, CD Baby. Songtrader's another one. So yeah, they definitely have had success. It's just in different realms, and yeah.
I think with a lot of these newer platforms,
Mm-hmm.
like Songtrader, and you know, we're seeing a lot. I mean, I feel like, well, Music Bed isn't really a new platform. I think they become pretty established pretty fast.
Yes.
You know, but a lot of these newer platforms are still trying to find their footing, I think. You know, obviously they're going to have the capability and the offering and the goal to reach out to music supervisors. They're going to have all these products available.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of what I understand about their market share right now, I haven't heard too much about. I mean, I haven't heard too much about music supervisors using that as a primary source. That's not to say that it's not viable or that they don't use it at all. I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure that they do, but it's not one that I've really. I think they're still trying to get their footing, and maybe in the next year or two we'll hear more about Songtrader. But so yeah, if you are interested in Songtrader and you've done your research on them and you like their terms, it could be an opportunity for you to get in early with them.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of having any experience or any like market share on today's date, I think they're still emerging.
Mm-hmm.
Would be my guesstimate. So
Okay.
so yeah.
We have a question from Janice Lazaro. Um, any advice as far as how many songs to showcase when pitching to sync agents? Should one showcase a variety of different styles?
It depends. If you've done your research on that sync agent, and you realize that they have a need in their roster for many different kinds of music that are authentic to you, then yeah, you can offer a sampler. I have a lot of people in the group who are managers of multiple artists, and they send a sampler of the best works of each of those artists over to sync agents to see if they want to hear more from any particular artist. With that being said, I wouldn't overload. I would
Mm-hmm.
send 5 tops, but make sure that you're not sending a spread of music that are genres that you don't do anymore, or like, you know, for example, I have some artists who we used to be a band in 2010, and we have these great works. We have like 6 of them. The band doesn't work anymore, but we have this music and we're trying to figure out how to monetize it. So you know, I wouldn't really put that forward, because if an agent is like, yeah, we love this, send us 10 more, you
Right.
don't make that music anymore. So you know, I understand the impulse of wanting to send everything that you've got, but if you can, I would narrow it down to what you're doing right now and what you're passionate about,
Mm-hmm.
because that's what you're going to have to do ongoing. And you know, you want to be able to do that without burnout. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I mean, you can send multiple genres of music. I would say no more than 5. If you're sending a sampler of a few different projects that you have, you know, maybe 3 minimum. But I would more focus on the needs of that agent and try to be specific as to what you do, and really put that foot forward.
And it's worth noting, you know, in Vo's course in advanced sync strategies, he steps you through exactly how to pitch sync agents, the email you should write, how to send them music, what music to send them. And not only that, twice a year. And this is something that we're doing that I don't think anyone else in the world, any other school is doing, any other education institution, like literally nobody else is doing this. We have partnered with some premier sync agents, some of the best sync agents in the world that are known by literally every music supervisor in the space. In addition to Vo's sync agency, Sound Dose Music, where we have twice a year open submissions only through Ari's Take Academy. So we call this the Certified Ari's Take Artist Program, CATA, where twice a year we allow you to submit your work, and then we send over that music to these sync agencies for possible representation. So we've done the first round already. The first round was just with Vo's sync agency as we're getting this program off the ground. He signed a good number of students to his agency. I think there was like 25 in the first batch that he signed to his sync agency. The next round, we're going to be opening it up in June. We have 5 more sync agencies that are a part of this program now, and they don't take unsolicited material. So you can't send them an email and say, "Hey, can you consider my music?" This is a backdoor program that we're offering just for ATA students. So if you're interested in being repped, that's a program that we're offering, and I'd get in now because we're just about to kind of open that up.
Cool. I wanted to add one thing.
Yeah.
My personal favorite part about all of this is the actual community. So like these are all awesome questions. They're all relevant to each individual instructor. But the coolest thing about, like, for example, the Facebook group, you can ask a question and get support on it almost instantly. Like, I mean, all 3 of us were active as instructors. We're giving feedback, we're helping our students. But in addition to what we're doing, there's hundreds, if not thousands, of other students that are just jumping in to collaborate, share knowledge. If there's a new feature, sometimes some of these students are going even beyond the strategies of the course and adding unexpected value to the community, and people are really showing up for each other. And I think sharing knowledge, Ari said this one time, but collectively we have more knowledge together than the greatest teachers or universities currently available, because everyone is genuinely helping each other out. So if you have questions, like, today's not the last day either. Like, when you do get into these and you're ready to get into some of these courses, this is an ongoing experience that will continue to unfold, and knowledge will keep being shared. And people, if you're nervous, it's totally normal. Like, people will help you through what those obstacles and questions are. That's one thing. It's probably my favorite factor so far.
And yeah, you can, if you guys are interested who've tuned in today, go to aristakeacademy.com. You can learn more about each of the courses taught by these instructors. We'll take one final question here. We have a question from Michelle McKeon. This doesn't have to do necessarily with what we've been talking about today, but I want to get everyone's take. If you have any thoughts on it, I'll start. Michelle's question is, I'd love to hear from you beasts about NFTs, the blockchain, and the future growth of the growing blockchain space. So I'll start because I've been doing a deep dive into NFTs. I just had Verite on the New Music Business podcast. That episode is live now. You should go listen to it. She is an artist who has done a few NFT drops successfully. She breaks down the NFT space. I also just interviewed the global head of music of NFTs at crypto.com, Joe Conyers. And so that episode is coming out shortly. By the time you're listening to this, wherever you are, it might already be live. So I'm learning a lot about NFTs. I think, and I wrote an article on this on Ari's Take. You can check it out. And personally, I'm very excited and inspired by NFTs because I think it can bring value back to recorded music, and just it's another way for fans to showcase to their favorite artists that they appreciate their work and they want to invest in the artist. We're seeing a lot of times, not to get too deep into the weeds of NFTs to explain it, because that's not what this session is about. But there's a way that artists will continue to earn as NFTs are sold and resold, and artists always make a commission there. And it enables people to measure impact. So like one of my fans who told me that they listened to my song 25 times on Spotify, one song, and they're like, it's affecting them so deeply, and they're like bawling over the song. I don't, there's no way to measure that impact right now other than seeing that there's a few more streams on Spotify, but I don't know if that stream on Spotify is from one person who listened to my song on a playlist and skipped it after 37 seconds, or this person who's having a spiritual experience listening to my song. You have no idea. But with NFTs, somebody could actually invest and purchase my NFT for $10,000 and be like, you know what, this has very much impacted me, and I'm going to invest in you. I want to buy this one of a kind piece of art that you have put out because I really love it. And there's that space for it. And anyone else who wants to have Lucid, Vo, or Claire, have you guys looked into NFTs at all? Have any thoughts on it?
Definitely looking into it. I haven't figured out exactly what I want to implement, or like the path or the platform of which I want to create that offering. But I mean, the bottom line is this is another kind of generational shift that's happening with technology. It's definitely something that if you have the means or if you have the interest to start researching and take advantage of, it's very much in its earliest stages, but artists are making millions and millions of dollars doing it. So it could definitely 100% going to continue to be relevant, and you'll probably see some form of Lucidius
I'm
NFT.
waiting for the Lucidius coin or the Lucidius NFT coming out.
Yeah, the answer is yes, definitely looking into it, and I think it's very worthwhile anybody's time because blockchain's not going anywhere.
Right.
So
yeah, I would definitely second that. I think NFTs is going to be a huge revolution. I think we're very much so at the early stages of it.
Yeah.
We haven't seen yet how things can be leveraged with NFTs and smart contracts and stuff like that. I think more artists are pushing the boundaries of that before our eyes, and we're very much so at the first barely 1% of the development of it. As it stands right now, a lot of people are using NFTs very much so in a way to trade value on in a very basic way, to where they're creating work, minting that work, and then having people bid on that work. But there's going to be, I think, in the future, more interaction, and just more use, more complexity to the experience of what you're getting out of NFTs in the future. So yeah, I'm working with a couple companies right now on my origin NFTs. I think it's beyond the ability to earn a lot of cash from it, which I think there's a huge opportunity there. I think it's just another experience that I can give my followers and my fans. It's a different way for them to engage with me, and it's another way to basically it's another space for my community to come and exist, which is what we're seeing. A lot of the artists who are starting this space have built communities over the years, or over the years before NFTs became really kind of exposed, and people became very curious about them. If you look at visual artists like Beeple, for example, I've been following Beeple on Instagram for 4 years. So he's essentially transferring his community to the NFT space, and people are seeing the success, but it's not an overnight success. It's essentially he's taking his fans from here to there. So
and
I think
Beeple famously was the one who sold his digital art, his NFT, for $69 million at a Christie's auction. Right.
Exactly. And he had somewhere like 3,000 pieces. So I think an artist like Claire or like Lucidius and even myself, and a lot of you out there who are establishing your communities and figuring out through these courses how to build and grow and engage with your communities, you'll be able to then transfer those communities to this NFT space. So it's really all relevant. It's a new medium, but I feel like our success in this space is definitely going to be the foundation of that is the strength of our actual communities. And then when the next thing happens after NFTs, then we'll move our communities there.
Right.
That's all that's happening essentially,
Thank you everyone for tuning in. Again, go to aristakeacademy.com, learn more about the courses that we have. Enrollment is closing May 14th. So you're going to want to get in before we close enrollment. Also, the New Music Business podcast. You can just search New Music Business and find the podcast however you listen to podcasts, and hear my extensive interviews with Claire, Vo, and Lucidius. Thank you guys so much. It's always great to chat with you, and it's super inspiring hearing from you guys.
Thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you so
Peace.
much.
Thank you. Good to see you.